Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Okay, cool. So today, we're tackling something that I know a lot of resellers out there struggle with.
Uh-oh. What's that?
It's that dreaded death pile.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard of that. You know those stacks of things that just keep growing?
Exactly. And it's not just a reseller problem. I think everyone's got some version of a death pile in their lives, right?
Oh, absolutely. Unfinished projects, clothes we never wear, you name it.
Right. Like me, I swear I'm going to get back to that knitting project someday.
We all have those someday projects.
But for resellers, this can actually be a real problem, not just a little bit of clutter.
Totally. It can be a financial drain, too. The episode we're looking at today, it really drove that point home.
Yeah, the reseller in the episode was saying they had inventory just piled up everywhere, like not even just in their house.
Yeah. A warehouse, an apartment, even storage units.
Yeah.
Talk about feeling overwhelmed.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so interesting about this whole death pile thing. It's not just about the physical stuff, it's the mental and emotional weight of it, too.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Every item in that pile represents money you've already spent.
Right, like you were saying, a financial drain.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your cash flow is frozen in time, just sitting there, not working for you. And that can be super discouraging.
It's almost like it becomes this visual reminder of all the things you haven't gotten around to yet.
Right. And it can make it even harder to actually get started on tackling it.
So how do you break free from that cycle? The reseller in the episode, they had a real turning point. It was like this aha moment for them.
Yeah, they realized that they needed to treat their reselling more like a business.
Okay, so not just a casual hobby.
Right. They started tracking their metrics, like their sell-through rate, which is basically how quickly you're actually selling your inventory.
So that helped them understand what was actually selling well and what was just kind of sitting there.
Exactly. And that's huge because then you can prioritize your listing efforts, focus on the stuff that's actually moving, and maybe reevaluate why those other things aren't selling.
So instead of just listing everything randomly, you're being more strategic.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not harder.
I love that. And this ties into another important concept the episode talked about, right? ROI.
Oh, yeah. Return on investment. That's crucial for any business, but especially reselling.
Can you break that down a little bit? I think some people might not fully get how that applies to reselling.
Sure. So let's say you buy a vintage jacket for $20. You spend another $5 on listing fees and shipping, then you sell it for $50.
It's like a pretty good profit, right?
It might seem like it, but you
Yeah.
got to factor in your time too. The time you spent sourcing, cleaning, photographing, listing, shipping.
Oh, right. Time is money.
Exactly. If you don't track your time, you might think you're making a profit when you're actually just breaking even.
So how do you actually keep track of all of this?
Well, there are a bunch of different inventory management techniques out there. The episode talked about one called FIFO, first in, first out.
Okay, what's that all about?
It's pretty simple. You prioritize listing the items you've had the longest. So basically, you're always trying to move the oldest inventory first.
That makes sense. Like managing your fridge. Eat the older stuff before it goes bad.
Exactly. It helps you minimize the risk of items becoming outdated or losing value while they're just sitting in your death pile.
So we've got tracking metrics, ROI, FIFO. It's starting to sound a bit less like treasure hunting and a bit more like, actual business management.
And that's kind of the key takeaway, I think. The episode really emphasized that to be successful, you have to treat reselling like a business.
Even if you started as a hobby.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to be passionate about finding cool stuff, but if you want to make it work long term, you need to have those business fundamentals in place.
So for our listeners out there who might be feeling overwhelmed by their own death piles, what's one thing they can do today to start making a change?
I would say start small. Don't try to tackle the entire mountain at once. Maybe pick one corner of your death pile and set a timer for 15 minutes. Just focus on that one area.
Yeah, even a small step is progress.
Absolutely. And there are tons of resources out there to help you. Inventory apps, online communities, even just searching for tips online. You don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Great advice. So to wrap things up, it sounds like the key to conquering that death pile is really about shifting your mindset.
Definitely. It's about recognizing the financial and emotional impact of that clutter and then taking steps to manage it like a business.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
It was great chatting with you. And for our listeners, make sure to tune in next time when we'll be exploring
Oh, I'm intrigued.
the wild world of thrift store flipping. See you then.